Oh, Catherine.
Hi.
Yes. Welcome to the couch.
Hi, I'm just putting all of our filmmakers on the couch right now. Just bear with me.
You're doing such a good job.
Turn on the light.
Let's see. Is Ivy here? Or Mary?
Mary Tilden, you here?
I don't think Mary's here.
Leah Rate's
Leah,
here.
though.
Okay,
Leah Rate's here.
Great.
To say,
I'm here for Mary.
Awesome. Do we have Ivy or anyone from the bench? Okay, I guess not. Okay, thank you for those amazing films. This whole weekend has been full of incredible films and made by our women and non-binary filmmaker community, and that was the last of our short premieres. I'm so excited for this Q&A. This is going to be about 30 minutes in length. We're recording it. It'll be saved to our watch panel room, which you can access on the left. And yeah, please make sure to mute yourselves when you're not speaking. Please stick around after this event to join us on the rooftop where we hope to connect and keep the conversation going. Thanks, everyone. Oh, and audience members, you can put your questions in that little question box in the top right. And I think I saw Ivy here, so I'm going to pull them up really quick. Okay. Oh, one more thing. I want to introduce our Q&A host, Abby Pierce, who's a filmmaker and theater teacher. And I'm sure Abby will have more to say about herself as well. Thanks, Abby.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, I'm so honored to be here. First of all, I want to thank Cinema Femme for inviting me. Thank you, Rebecca Martin, for putting on this amazing festival. If anyone hasn't spent time one-on-one with her, I highly recommend trying to grab her ear and spend some time with her. She's a wonderful person, an amazing advocate, and just so smart. Julia, Jessica, Katie from Cinema Femme, great job. I'm so happy to be a part of this particular block. I found every film just so interesting. As Katie mentioned, I've made some short films. I'm itching to make another. And so some of my questions are a little bit filtered that way because I'd love to hear what I'm going to be asking is a little bit about each of your processes in the way that like I found an entry point. So one of the entry points that I found was like, Catherine for Ships in the Night. Hi. Also, I have friends here. It's really great. And anyone that's not my friend, I would love to be your friend at some point. Catherine, it was just Ships in the Night. You took on which many people here have actually, the writer, director, actor, producer role, but then even more so, an even more isolated environment of COVID. And so one thing that I'm wondering is when I was watching your film was just the process of getting over any self-doubt, how you kept up that motivation, what that prompt was, what that experience was to be your own engine in kind of an isolated situation to make this beautiful, wonderful film.
That's a good question. I think part of it was because I thought that any day now the quarantine was going to end and I would have to go back to work. And then I wouldn't have all this free time. LOL. So, yeah, I think some of it was like feeling like I was on a time crunch, even though in reality I actually wasn't. Because I'm a procrastinator and I think it keeps me from doing a lot of things. So having like a perceived deadline, whether it's real or not, really helped me. I think that's just how I work. Otherwise, I don't know. I think that we all kind of I think it was like processing. I think when you watch it, it's like obvious that it was made in like the beginning days of COVID before we knew a lot. And so I think it was partly so that I could process, and making the film was part of that.
Yeah. With that, I'm wondering, like, and what were those, like, ways, those very practical ways that you kept yourself on those personal deadlines to stay accountable to yourself, right? Because besides the idea that COVID was going to end at some time, but besides that, what were those ways that you kept accountable to actually move this forward and get a complete project?
Knowing that I owed my editor footage and gave her a date and a time to expect it. That was mainly it. And just like putting it on my schedule. I find it very comforting to have things scheduled out for me. And another thing about like the early days of the pandemic was like all of a sudden there was no schedule. It's like, what even is time? And so I think in a way it was very comforting for me to know that from 3 to 5, because that's when the light is correct. Otherwise I can't go back. Then like I have to shoot it at this time, because that's another thing. I didn't have any like professional lighting or anything. So I relied on the sun, and it's like the sun hits this window at this time. So at 4:30, I have to be here to like record it. And that kind of thing like really helped me.
How did you come up with the idea and then like commit to it? I have a hard time. I have like a billion little ideas, and then it's hard to commit to one. Curious about how you did that.
I just wanted to talk about something that I've always felt ashamed about, which is like how much I love characters, like to the point where I go searching for like more stories about them that fans have created. And also how my mind will like create romance even when there is none. And like that's just a thing about me. And so I think I think I just like wanted to like out myself in a way as like
Yeah.
a nerd.
I love that answer. I love it. I'm gonna go looking for the things that I'm ashamed about and then try and put them on blast. And I have.
I think it's the most interesting part about like what you have to offer as an artist. I do.
I agree. Sarah Sherman, hi. I loved September, and one of the things that I was so curious about was that because Jessica, who was one of the main actresses, wrote it. And I was so curious because there's so much in the directing of the pacing and the location and the tension between them. And I'm just curious about how that process was working with as a director with the writer, and how you guys developed that and really got such an authentic feel to it.
Well, gosh, thanks for that. I feel like my answer is like strangely simple. It was a lot on the day, and it was a lot of playing around and experimenting, I guess. And I guess I should acknowledge to myself that like certain things kind of had to be in place in order for that to be possible. So like there was some, prep and such, but Jessica was so just generous she wrote the script and sent it to me. Was like, do you want to do this? And then like from that point on was just sort of like, make it yours, like, and so we never even had a conversation of like, I feel like the only conversation was me being like, are you sure? Like I have ideas, like, and she was just like, go to town. I really just want to be an actor on this. So I think once I knew I had that freedom, I'm a writer myself. And so I think just like I put my writer cap on in terms of like really dissecting the characters and kind of just letting whatever sort of intuitively occurred to me as interesting to explore be something that I, remembered to kind of focus on, I guess. But again, a lot, just like the circumstances kind of had to be right. And we just had like, a tiny crew. We filmed this in like 7 hours, but like surrounded by really good people who were donating their time. Like I was thinking earlier today how like you just don't always get lucky with who you're surrounded by. And I think that has a really, at least for me, I'm very sensitive and attuned to like the energy around me, I guess. And so like if there's not a lot of like good flow around me, I think I might feel less safe, like playing around and you know, even as a director, kind of making myself vulnerable to kind of meet the actors. So long-windedly, I think just a lot of things kind of lined up, and I had the actors trusting me, and I think they you know, there was just a lot of mutual trust, and it just kind of worked out in that way. I don't really think I answered your question, but hopefully that's
No, you,
something.
you did a gorgeous job answering it, and it's a bit unanswerable. You know, what's the relationship between a director and the writer and the material? Because
Yeah.
it is that kind of like something happens in the space. I think I got curious about it because there's a real beauty to the simplicity of it, and sometimes when you're in the pre-production, I get scared if there's simplicity. I'm like, but where's like a firework? Where's a twist, you know? And I really enjoyed the fact that you trusted that, and actually you guys doubled down on that. And one of the things that I was really interested in upon the second viewing was how you captured the beginning voiceover because it was so authentic. And I was like, could that be written? It could have been, but wow, that's a good performance. And man, how did you get that?
Well, that's purely a testament to Jessica. So we, and I guess I just want to throw into my answer, just like I'm working on another short right now, and I was just talking to my brother who's a filmmaker about it, and we were like marveling, just reminding ourselves how like scripts are just blueprints, like it changes so much. So her script was so lovely, and you know, I felt connected to it, but the end result is pretty different from the script. So we were just kind of playing around in the car, I think on our way out to shoot, and got some really awesome, like I was kind of directing them on, you know, just sort of like prompts, just sort of like natural dialogue or whatever. And I was so tickled with what we got. And then like 2 weeks later, when I'm trying to throw that into the edit, Jess is like very gently like, you know, we didn't have sound in the car. And I was like, you know, so what wound up happening, like what is in the final mix is, you know, after that conversation, Jess was like, let me figure something out. And then like next cut, because she edited this as well, she put that voiceover on, and she had got together with the other actor, and they just came up with that on their own. And I was so it just made my day, I guess, in that, like, I don't know, it felt like a clear sign that we were meshing kind of creatively, because it was what I would have wanted to write as well if I had wrote this script, you know. And I love when stuff works out like that, you know, just sort of, I mean, I can't call it a happy accident, but just where people are able to get really really natural stuff. And so it was all them, and I felt like it made my job much easier and better once that came in, so I was grateful.
Well, that's gorgeous. And you're not giving yourself enough credit because it's a communal, right, effort of you being able to prompt them and create that space and ask them those questions and make sure that you get it and knowing that you kind of got it before and going back and making sure you got it. Because it really set the tone of that naturalistic, intimate space that you really lived in. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Sydney, uh, I am so curious. I mean, you know, I love the behind the scenes. I love a behind the scenes, and I'm so curious about. Um, First of all, could you tell me a little bit about um, Hidden Hues? Sorry, Hues and Hidden Kings. Can you tell me a little bit about the film that you made, or the piece that you made the behind the scenes of that we saw today?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank you guys. This is my second year at Femme, so thank you, Rebecca, for believing in me. Last year, I showed my first ever film that I did 5 years ago while I was in college. Hues and Hidden Kings was a story of a group of college kids coming together in a time where America was in a very split thinking. And we did something about it in advocating for the African American diaspora of making sure that we reclaim our inheritance as royal people of who we truly are. And so me and my friends got together. I wrote it, I directed, produced it alongside of my co-producer, Chandler Kravitz, who's in the audience. And he did all the cinematography of the behind the scenes. That's all one person. I cannot believe Chandler did that. I do not know how he did it, but he made it happen. And that was our rehearsal process of coming together every Sunday night, every weekend, some in-betweens during spring breaks even, and just getting together and trying to make this thing happen. And it was probably one of the best experiences, and that's what started off my filmmaking journey. And I just want to share with you guys the return of how it happened.
Yeah, it was so interesting because you could feel the energy of, it was such an interesting experience to have not experienced that. I went and looked up the trailer because I was like, what is the piece that she made? I was so hungry for it. But I could feel the energy of it. And as a person that creates both theater and film, I loved watching the process of it. And I'm wondering what made you think, you know what, after making that piece, what made you think I would actually want to make a totally separate piece about making the piece?
I always had that in mind. Documentaries is actually my favorite genre. I watch more documentaries than films sometimes. So I always like to remember things and have memories. I'm that VCR girl that's like, let's stick in a VCR and remember this moment. So with coming into it, Chandler always had a camera with him. He was in every meeting with me. He was in every rehearsal with me. And so he was just there. So no matter what, we wanted to capture the moment. Because the film was such a big success last year that I was like, okay, I think it's time for the next year to call up Chandler and be like, hey, all that footage that you followed me around in the cast, can we actually do something about it? And we surprised them with this documentary. And after surprising the cast, because they didn't realize what was happening, like they were just there. And then I didn't say, oh, I'm going to throw in a documentary. I called Chandler and I'm like, hey, I think it's time. Look at what we created. Let's do it. So you guys are the first people to see it outside of the cast.
That's so exciting. It was a really interesting experience to view it that way, to actually interact with a piece of artwork a little bit removed from it. And like I said, I got very hungry for it. So it was a cool experience that I don't think I've had before. And I look forward to seeing it. Is there a way that we can see the piece?
Yeah, so Houston Hidden Kings, I think that one's done its festival run. So it has its own website. It's HoustonHiddenKings.com. And it has its own Instagram, Houston Hidden Kings. So you guys can view it and watch it and enjoy it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Leah, thank you for representing Mary. She's probably in her show at Writers Theater, right? That's very exciting. I thought that this was just what a full film, what a full piece with a big cast and a lot going on. And honestly, it's a bit of a dream of mine to go on vacation with a bunch of buds and make a movie, but I don't trust myself to make it happen. How did you guys stick to making this thing happen while you also looked like y'all were having a party?
That's a great question. I'm having a party right now. A lot of people gave us money.
Hi.
A lot of people gave us money, and I don't take that lightly. So I was gonna follow through on the project because there were a lot of people showing up and supporting it. Is the one answer. Two, I think we went out of our way. I think we went above and beyond to curate a set culture that was going to feel like summer camp for everyone. We made sure that we let everybody know in advance, here's what you're signing up for. Here's what you're walking into. What are your needs? Here's our assumptions and agreements. Like here's who we're centering. This is a queer femme-led set. We called every single one of the straight cis white boys and said, this is what this means. You are invited onto our set. Like, are you going to have an issue with this? Are you going to be able to step up in this way? So we created a space where people could feel brave. And then I think we were also loose after we got what we needed to kind of improvise and play around some, which I think really helped us when it came down to the editing. I mean, to be fair, there was one boat ride. We shot the film in 3 days. The very first night we wrapped early, and I surprised everyone with, we got to go on a boat ride now, right, y'all? I'm gonna take you out on the boat. So when I look back, I do not think that was vacation, because I did not stop working, and neither did mostly anybody, really. But I think we took care of folks, and I think the people who did have downtime were able to find just some refuge, honestly.
Did you, with creating that culture, did you do like games, acting exercises, things like that to kind of like create ensemble or community? Full disclosure, I went to acting conservatory with both Catherine and Leah. So I kind of can smell out that maybe Leah did some that we maybe
no. What I mean when I speak to that is actually like, here's the values that we have as collaborators. This was my first time producing, and I wanted to curate a set that I would want to work on as an actor. So, okay. My friends are getting excited. So usually as an actor, you don't actually really know where you're going, what time you're supposed to be there until the night before. You have no idea how long you're going to be waiting around. You don't know what parking is going to be like. It is a recipe for anxiety for people who don't even struggle with that. And here I am asking all my, queer friends to drive 6 hours to rural Kentucky to make a film. So we let people know, here's the kinds of flags you're going to see your entire drive down. Like, here's what the living situation is going to be like. Take some time to think through what your needs might be. Yes, so for example, we had an actor who said, I'm really worried about this work-life balance. I want to know that I'll be able to, like, I have to do this job. So I want to know that I could rest. So we created where the actors were housing, that within the actor housing was kind of quiet zone, and there were designated social spaces if you felt like hanging out. But that night that we shot did finish early, just impromptu. I think it was our DP and the camera crew were like, all right, we're all going to play this game now. And like, they curated this mafia game that everybody was involved in. And that was very team building, camaraderie, fun time, which was nice after the
coming from the crew.
Oh yeah, they were pumped. Everyone, they were like, "Oh, we'll come to a lake house. We'll all sleep in the same bed. Like, this sounds awesome." So it did. I'm really proud of the fact that I think everyone's experience did feel a little bit like summer camp, maybe besides my own, to which I take a lot of pride in. Then that, like, yeah. I am of service to you all, and Mary, of course. We were hustling very, very hard.
Amazing. Thank you. Ivy, hi. The bench was so beautiful. I believe that this was like, I know that this is your first film, right?
Yes.
I think this is marks a bit of a career change for you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been an actor for many years, and this was the first time behind the camera, in multiple roles.
Yeah, and also you were a teacher as well? You studied teaching or education?
No, but my character did.
Your character did. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I thought that I read that. I apologize. Can you just shed some light about the 3 women that you picked? Have such different perspectives, but they're 3 perspectives of a billion perspectives. And so what were those, how did you choose those 3 perspectives? What drew you to each one of those voices?
I think as the writer, there's a little bit of me in each character. And also when I sat down to write it, it was about making 3 distinct characters who in a common space felt very different, but also very similar. They're strangers coming together. And so people who from very different walks of life, but there was also similarity. And as they started to talk and get to know each other, they found that commonality. And yeah, I think I sort of wrote it in a frenzy one afternoon before going off to work. And these are kind of just the characters that came to me.
Oh, I love that. I mean, oh man, can that frenzy just come to me tomorrow? Uh, with the fact that this is also your first film that you've directed and written, and what did you learn? What would you tell a first time filmmaker, a first time director, a first time movie maker? What do you think that you learned from this experience?
I learned a lot. Yeah, being involved in the whole process.
It's a
from start to
classic
finish.
answer. It's like, it's
Yeah.
a stupid question because
No, it's a great
yeah, it's
question.
like budget.
A
I
lot.
don't know all of
I
it.
think
Yeah.
what I would tell someone starting out their on their first film is don't act in it and direct it and write it. And I mean, unless you want to, but that was a lot to take on.
Well, too late.
Yeah. I think it was a great way to dive into filmmaking, but I think on my next film I will probably not act in it and direct it, or maybe I will because I'm an actor and I love acting. So I might.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a lot to take on, and I think I learned so much about the technical side of filmmaking and just how important every single person on set is.
Yeah.
We had a really amazing crew, and everyone was more experienced in filmmaking than myself. So I had a lot of great mentors, which really helped.
Oh, that's awesome. That is very important. How was it running behind did you run behind the camera? How did you handle being on camera and running off camera?
Yes, there was a lot of running back and forth, and then I just relied a lot on my DP, Ben Bach, and my assistant director, Ben Leotoa. He really was a mentor through the whole process. And so it was developing a line of communication with both of them to sort of minimize the running back and forth, but there still was a lot of running back and forth.
God bless the Bens. Okay,
Yeah,
we have 2 minutes left. We have 2 minutes left. Andy says, what do you want to explore with your next film? Okay, so we have 2 minutes. So we're gonna go Sydney, Sarah, Catherine, Leah, Ivy. And as quickly as you can, what do you want to explore with your next film?
Quickly.
Go.
So with me, I just finished doing a one-woman show. And so that's also a film that you guys will be seeing next year. Okay, Rebecca? That's recorded. So the next version is getting investors and getting it out to the masses.
Amazing. Sarah?
For me, like, I would love to direct any genre of work as long as there's room to explore truthfulness. So, like, I have a couple features I'm trying to make right now, a short, and they're all really different. And, like, if someone was like, hey, here's a script, and it is, like, a Western, or, like, just something so random, if there's the opportunity for, like, to dig into, like, honesty, you know, and, like, real stuff between people, I am just, like, there, ready. So, hopefully I get some of that.
I love that.
I'm making a short at the end of next month in Chicago that's going to be one take. So with that, I really want to figure out how to keep shots. I want to keep it looking dynamic without the benefit of editing. So that's what's on my mind right now. And if anyone knows a good Steadicam operator in Chicago, if you could reach out to me, for real, let me know.
I got
Catherine,
you.
what's your handle or something? Oh,
I
okay.
know someone, Catherine. The boyfriend to the DP of my next short. My next short film is going to be called Lee and Charlie, and it is written by my friend Eli Solkowski here. And it's a story about a trans man and his partner's journey to get pregnant and have a baby. And it is a bunch of vignettes of private moments, and I'm excited to direct for the first time. So my focus will be directing for the first time.
I think I would love to do something with multiple locations. It was an intentional choice to just shoot on a park bench for many reasons, but I would love to do something a little bit more extravagant in terms of locations. And I would also love to direct kids in my next short.
Ooh, yeah, amazing. All right. Andy, that was a really good question. That was really good. I loved everyone's answers. You all had such beautiful work that you showed today. I'm so appreciative. I feel so lucky to have seen it all multiple times. I think that you're all amazing filmmakers. I loved being part of Cinema Femme. So thank you all. Give yourselves and each other like a little, whatever round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Katie, I don't know if you're gonna like pop back up and be like, give me some sort of something. Yeah. But you guys did so great. I'm so proud of all of you. And you all had beautiful answers. That Q&A was like so exciting and invigorating and inspiring.